These guys have been spending most of their lives living in a striker's paradise. And I'm talking about Violent Bob Ross, Luis Pena taking on the Deathstar, Khama Worthy. And it's a really interesting one because Khama Worthy taking on guys in that Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, just overall Pennsylvania scene. He fought Paul Felder really early on in his career. Got finished. He's fought some notable names over the length of his overall career. We talked about it a little bit earlier in one of the prediction videos, the fact that he got knocked out by Kyle Nelson. But that was a featherweight. And up at lightweight, since he's moved there, 6 wins in a row. He's looked really good. He looked great in his UFC debut. One of the biggest underdog finishes I've seen in a long time. He took on a training partner in Devontae Smith. Taking on a really tough out, though, in this one in Violent Bob Ross, Luis Pena, a guy that I wouldn't say superstardom just yet, but he's kind of budding on that. I mean, a lot of people are going to recognize him at least from his time on the embeddeds, the countdowns. They put a lot into Luis Pena. And for that matter, they put him up against some all-right competition. He's had some decent wins. He's had some tough losses. The tough loss that I can really think of off the top of my head, the Matt Frevola fight, that was a really tough one there. He got a win in his last one over Steve Garcia. Garcia coming in on short notice, though. I mean, for what it's worth, Pena dominated him in every aspect of the fight, took him down, had a really tight body lock for a lot of it as well. So it matches up interestingly because Luis Pena, one of the bigger, taller guys at 55. Khama Worthy, though, to his credit, he's not one of the smaller guys in the division. That's to say the least. So, Matt, what do you make of this matchup? Is it as all action as it's being billed?
I think it will be. So, Luis Pena, and you kind of mentioned it, not really flirting with superstardom, but he was one of those guys who, when you really thought about kind of prospects who can go to that next level, think of like 2016 Sage Northcutt. You thought Sean O'Malley and Luis Pena, they were kind of in that same category for a little while. The difference was O'Malley just kept on winning, even though he did have those 2 years off. He kept his name in the headlines, and he kept on winning, no matter who they threw at him. You know, fun finishes, and he was able to kind of keep that excitement going. Luis Pena, you bring up the Frevola loss. I think the Trezano loss was a lot worse, just because
the Trezano one being in the finale of The Ultimate Fighter. You're right, and the Frevola one, just to point it out, split decision loss was a close fight. But if you're looking at a guy like Luis Pena that you want to attach the rocket ship to and ride it into that superstardom, like I said, you'd expect him to beat a guy like Frevola.
Exactly, and I thought he did beat Frevola, to be completely honest. But the Trezano one, we kind of saw the limitation of Luis Pena's skill set, at least at that point. He's good at jiu-jitsu, and he's great at striking. The wrestling, he still hasn't really put together. He's very susceptible to getting taken down. He's not great against the cage, especially if you're in a clinch, just because he's so tall that everyone who's fighting, they're going to be a lot stronger than he is, because, again, you have to weigh the same. So if you're giving up that much of a height advantage, you're probably going to lack, at least in the strength. But with Khama Worthy, the Devontae Smith fight was really weird because, yes, he won and he was this massive underdog. They were friends, though, and they were, like, high-fiving after every shot. It was one of the weirder fights that I've ever seen.
Cowboy Cerrone and Yancy Medeiros.
The difference was Cowboy was probably going to win that fight no matter what, just because he's quite a bit better than Yancy. Khama Worthy had no business beating Devontae Smith, and he ended up being able to pull the upset. I don't think you can take a lot from that performance, though, because Khama Worthy, kind of an older guy coming into the UFC, too. A lot of people, it hasn't really been brought up a lot. 33 years old, and he's only on his second UFC fight, so he doesn't really have a lot of time left. He doesn't want to go with those rankings, especially at 155, where it's just killers all over the place. And I think Luis Pena is just going to be able to have his number, because you look at what Khama Worthy does. Luis Pena does it, but he also kicks really well, too. Khama Worthy, very boxing heavy. He's got big power, so if he goes out there, throws an overhand right, catches Luis Pena on the chin, he's going to put him down. That's just going to happen. But I think Pena's his Muay Thai is good enough. His elbows, his knees, throws a lot of head kicks too. And it's not like he's fighting an opponent that he has to be worried about, oh, am I going to get taken down? Am I going to have to worry about the level change constantly? He's going to be in his comfort zone in that striker's paradise, as you had alluded to earlier. So I think it's just a really good fight for Luis Pena. I know the odds are a little crazy because he's this massive favorite, but I do think it's quite comfortable to say that Luis Pena is going to be able to get it done.
So let's get into that. I mean, Luis Pena minus 280 favorite, Khama Worthy coming back at a plus 220 underdog. If you look over on Tapology, overwhelming majority of 752 fans, 73% going with Pena, a majority of them picking him to win by decision. I would agree with that. The one thing that I would want to see out of Luis Pena, maybe a little bit more of the leg kicks just in this fight to try and slow down that boxing heavy offense of Khama Worthy, the forward pressure. It should be a really good fight, I would assume, and it's more than an assumption, you know, just based on the tape study and the research, that Luis Pena should be able to walk away with the win here. But it is surprising, just based on those odds, how big of a favorite he is, considering what Khama Worthy did in his last time out.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I just think Luis Pena has a more well-rounded skill set, but also when you look, both guys are very much striking specialists, and Luis Pena is the better of the two at that. So if the fight goes to the mat, you definitely have to favor Luis Pena, and if the fight stays on the feet, yes, Worthy has the power advantage, but when you just look at kind of the technical abilities of both guys, Luis Pena is far more technical.
And then factor this one other thing in here, the fact that Luis Pena left AKA and he's had a lot of time to train at ATT. I know his last fight he had been training there, but really looking forward to this one. It should be a great fight, both going with Luis Pena. You're not going to want to miss the rest of our predictions for the card. An extended look at Dan Hooker versus Dustin Poirier. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As we always say, let's get into it.